So, as you can see, I did in fact complete the San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon this past weekend. Did not go the way I wanted to, meaning right from the get-go, obviously I wanted to record an actual vlog style video, but that did not happen. I think it was mainly because of the nerves, the anxiousness of it being one, my first marathon, and two, a race in general. And I don't know if it's just me or everybody else gets this way, but a lot of people get nervous when it's race day. All right, do a lot of training leading up to this race. However, I'm making this video to kind of tell you about my experience during this marathon. All right, so right off the get-go, honestly, like I said, very nervous, very anxious about race. I was excited at the same time because, you know, it was my first marathon and I was just ready to get moving. But what I can't believe is there was over 30,000 runners. That is just absolutely insane. So ton of people there, really cool. The vibes were up, the energy was high, it was amazing. All in all, it was a great experience, right? But let's talk about the race. So honestly, this happens all the time. No matter what run or race I do, I always come off too strong. I didn't start off like strong, but to start off, I was starting around a 9-minute per mile pace, and I held that, like I was in the nines for a good while, probably until about mile 9 or 10. Then I started slowing down a bit, went back into the nines. So from mile 1 to 5, was feeling pretty good. Around between mile 4 and 5 is when I took my first gel. And honestly, I don't know what happened. I've been using these gels for my training and I haven't had any issue, but for some odd reason, my stomach was upset from the start. All right, so as soon as I took my first gel, my stomach instantly upset, and I felt like I was going to throw up. My stomach was just aching. Around mile 6 or 7 is when I found a Porta-John, went to the bathroom, felt a little bit better, but did not completely relieve myself. I felt my stomach like curling. It just did not feel good at all. So ran still a relatively between a 9 and a 10-minute pace, which is where I was aiming for. You know, I wanted to aim for like an average pace of 10 minutes, which is where I wanted. So I went from mile 5 all the way to a half marathon, so 13.1 miles before taking in any other kind of like sugars, salts, or anything. It was strictly just water, just because of how upset my stomach was. So thankfully, I met my wife at halfway, gave me some words of encouragement, of course, saw my kids, but I got a banana around halfway. That's when they had the banana station. So ate the banana, didn't eat the whole thing, ate about half because, like I said, my stomach was still upset at this point. Right after the halfway was straight downhill. So after that, honestly, I tried to push it as hard as I could to try and make up some time. So it went downhill pretty hard. That's why my time went back under 10 minutes. I was around, I think, a 9:45 per mile pace after that hill. And then around mile 15, that's when it all like pretty much just plummeted. Still not feeling too great. It was not necessarily miserable, but definitely was not feeling great. Was not my best performance per se. But around mile 15, started getting a little sluggish, a little draggish, still trying to take in as much water. And then eventually around, I think, mile 16 or 17, I started taking in some electrolytes that the aid station had, which I want to say thank you to all the volunteers that were there helping support these runners. There's a lot of runners, and thank you for the water, thank you for the nutrition, thank you for the electrolytes and all that stuff, and thank you for the medical personnel as well, but I'll get into that in a minute. So again, just taking water, electrolytes, stuff like that. I think it was, like I said, 16 or 17 is when I took another gel. That one had a little bit of caffeine in it. It did boost me a little bit, but did not completely help fix my upset stomach, if that makes sense. So kept pushing. Around mile 18 or 19, that's when it really went downhill. Around this time, it's when I actually started cramping up. So pretty much my entire left leg was cramping really, really bad. It was right after we passed, we went over the bridge going into SeaWorld. I started cramping up really bad, and at that point, I was trying to run at least a mile and walk a couple minutes to kind of stretch out my hamstrings and whatnot. So I did that for a couple miles up until we got to the hill. If you guys ran the Rock and Roll Marathon this weekend, you guys know exactly what hill I'm talking about. But the hill on 163. Got to the hill, and man, I think I got to like the base of the hill, and then I said absolutely not. So that's when I opened up my stride and I just walked the entire hill. I'm not gonna lie to you. Walked the entire hill because I just was cramping so bad. But what I will say is I did stop at a couple medical tents to kind of cool down a little bit. So I got some ice, put it in my hat, put it in my hat to cool down a little bit. So I did that a couple times. I think I did that like 2 or 3 times. Did help, but again, that hill was no joke. All right, it may not seem like a lot when you're driving, but when you're doing it on foot, that's a whole different story. I've done much more difficult climbs, but for some reason, especially at mile 22, 23, whatever we were at, why would you guys put that there? Like, that's how miserable it was. All right. Once I got on top of the hill, obviously rang the bell, and once I got to a flatter portion, that's when I started to pick it up just a little bit more. Ultimately, finishing out the marathon, I was averaging, I think the last 2 miles were like 11:30, something like that, to finish out the marathon. All in all, amazing course. I loved going through the different towns, and you know, like I said, the vibes were up, the energy was high. It was amazing to be able to run through San Diego and all the different towns, and just the positive energy that all the people were giving off. Ended up finishing the marathon in 5 hours and 4 minutes, right pretty close to where I was expecting to get, which is that 5-hour mark. Before I really plummeted, I was still on par for a 4 hour and 30 minute or 4:40. I did have the 4:40 guy pass me around mile 18, 19 when I started cramping up. And I was like, damn, I really want to stay close to him, but fortunately cramped up really, really bad, and the rest was history. But I kept pushing through. Honestly, I did think I wasn't going to be able to finish, but I knew just to keep pushing, ultimately leading to getting the medal. 5 hours, 4 minutes, I was able to accomplish it. I learned a lot, honestly, during this marathon. Now I know how important, I knew it was important, but my nutrition has to be on point. And I think if I have better nutrition, I would definitely get a better time. But ultimately, I am very grateful that I was able to accomplish a marathon, right?